There's a deadly strain of heroin on the streets of Western Massachusetts right now. It's called Hollywood Heroin, and Hampden District Attorney Anthony Gulluni has spoken out to warn users and their families. We asked the DA about the current crisis and the decision to go public about the danger.
Well, it was a very sad point, quite frankly, to realize that we were at this situation in which we had to consider warning people after a number of overdoses and overdose-related deaths. But we felt that it was really a public health crisis at that point, where the number was so great, the overdoses about which we were hearing, that we felt it was wise to advise people of this more virulent, more lethal strain. Of course, heroin and related substances are inherently very dangerous, but what we knew was that there was a brand or stamp, a strain of heroin out there that was having a more pronounced effect on people and causing overdoses and deaths. So we felt that to publicize this was important, to let people know who were around known heroin users that this is a real possibility. I thought an important piece of that was also to advise people, users and family and friends alike, that the Good Samaritan law exists. And that is something that immunizes the person who calls, the user himself, if that is the case, that he or she cannot be prosecuted if the call is to advise the authorities, the emergency responders of someone in a life-threatening situation. So very often the hesitation from people around users, those using, is that they don't want to get arrested. And sometimes that trumps even their own well-being. So we thought it was important to advise people, remind people of the Good Samaritan law, as well as just let family and friends know there's a very serious situation right now, and if we can save some lives, that was really the objective.
What are you warning people to look for to know if they're getting this dangerous stuff?
So we've identified this particular brand or stamp of heroin that is labeled Hollywood, and very often we've seen with heroin distributors and traffickers that they brand the small wax paper baggies that are traditionally used to give heroin, to provide heroin to users, a particular characteristic stamp that develops some sort of brand loyalty, which is of course very sad. In this case, this particular stamp has been identified as Hollywood, and in it we're finding that there's a virulent strain of heroin. There's a mixture of substances that's causing, inordinately so, adverse reactions, overdose, and death. So we've begun an investigation through the state police attached to my office in coordination with local police departments, including Springfield and Holyoke, of course, to get to the source and hopefully take as much of this heroin off the streets before it can cause harm as we possibly can. And the Springfield Police Department, I commend, as always, under the leadership of Commissioner John Barberi, just over the weekend, made a very significant bust, almost 9,000 bags of this very Hollywood heroin that they've taken off the streets, and I think prevented probably handfuls of overdoses and deaths. And they conducted a great investigation, which we'll prosecute as aggressively as possible. The 4 individuals responsible, involved in this arrest, have been arraigned at this point, and they're in our system to be prosecuted, and they've been flagged, of course. And we're going to work on continuing to investigate and get as much of this stuff off the streets before it can cause any more harm.
I know the reports were that one of the things that prompted all of this, 8 deaths in a fairly short period of time. Again, under investigation, I realize, and maybe you don't know, maybe you can't tell us what you do know, but have those 8 been pretty firmly tied to the Hollywood heroin, or is that still in process?
They have been firmly tied to the Hollywood heroin. In terms of picking up on that investigation and potentially charging the provider of that heroin with manslaughter, which is something that I have done this past year. It's a case in our system now out of Ludlow where we were able to prove the nexus between the provision of that particular heroin, the usage of, and then the succeeding death. In this case, we're working on those investigations as vigorously as we possibly can to potentially charge people who have provided that heroin, whose hands really provided that heroin that caused the death, but that's something we're working on. But those number of overdoses have been precisely tied to the Hollywood heroin, and that's why we made that step of going public and trying to advise people, because we know this stuff is very, very dangerous, even more so than regular heroin is.
You mentioned, and it is frightening, it's amazing, but like any other product, I guess, these pushers, these handlers want people to know who they're getting their stuff from. That's why they're stamping them with names or symbols, Hollywood in this case. You presume you don't want to give someone a product that is going to kill them, because they are your customer, they are your meal ticket, whatever. Is it a thought that this has been contaminated somewhere along the way, something mixed in, or it's just so totally pure and potent? Is there any theory on what's happened or what's gotten in here? Because it doesn't seem like the pusher would want to be the person handing out a deadly dose.
I think that's true. I think that you've identified the kind of philosophy behind it correctly. Well back, I think, in the supply chain is where this stuff is formulated, generally speaking. And what we're finding out from early testing, and I have ordered expedited chemical analysis of this substance to find out exactly what's happening here, and we're realizing that fentanyl, which is a synthetic form of heroin, it's a synthetic opiate that's being put in to the heroin, is present there, and it is in many cases 50 times stronger than heroin. So the amount in fentanyl, which is sometimes common in heroin mixtures, is in such of such a magnitude that it's causing this adverse reaction. So for whatever reason, however it was formulated in a way that is just especially dangerous. And we are working to make sure that we can, by all means, get this stuff off the streets. And I've talked about it, frankly, unabashedly, Jim, in an atmosphere in which we're talking about changing sentencing laws. I believe firmly, and I believe this on behalf of the people of Hampden County, that those who are profiting from addiction, those people who are pushing drugs, trafficking in drugs, and particularly heroin nowadays, need to be prosecuted as vigorously and aggressively as possible. I think it's a big part of this issue, this epidemic with which we're dealing now. The supply side is there, and we need to interdict as much as we possibly can and make it difficult to sell and push and traffic drugs in our neighborhoods, on our streets in Hampden County. And we're working along with police departments, the state police, federal authorities, to be as aggressive as possible, especially now with people dying as they are, to investigate, arrest, and prosecute drug dealers.
This problem seems to be worst in our area right now. I have seen reports of some of the Hollywood Heroin in Worcester and perhaps a little east of there. But what about at the state level? For this kind of regional investigation, are you in touch with the top state police, top public safety officials? What's happening in that regard at this point?
Yeah, this is really a problem that is peaking in many different areas across the Commonwealth, and I think the Northeast and the country. But right now we're dealing with a real crisis, and in response to that, I've been in frequent consultation and communication with the Secretary of Public Safety, Dan Bennett, who works alongside the governor. He's spoken to me with the approval, with the authority of the governor in terms of providing us some additional resources. So I'm working on that this week in response to this crisis, to make sure that we get the resources we need out of Boston, out of the State House, to deal with this in a short-term way, to sort of diffuse what is happening right now, but also in a long-term way so we can continue to build the sort of prevention networks and structure to prevent this from happening at all, as it has at any time in the future. And I'm very grateful to the Secretary of Public Safety, Dan Bennett, as well as the governor and the administration. Many of our legislators are really picking up on this issue now when it's most critical, and without their help we would be even in probably more dire straits. So everyone is coming together, realizing the great need right now to work on it on a short-term and on a long-term basis.
Well, Hampden District Attorney Anthony Gulluni, thanks for coming in, telling us about this. Thanks for your time, sir.
Thank you.